Hello, and welcome to Chapter 5, which is talking about verbal communication. Okay, so I'll share my screen with your PowerPoints. This always happens. Hold on, and I'm going to fix my screen again. Okay, let's see if I have my full screen now. Okay, there we go. So exploring interpersonal communication, and we are on verbal communication across cultures. So we could see that language is not always concrete. It might mean something to one person, and in another culture, it might mean something to another person. And we don't even have to speak different languages. We can even speak between cultures of jobs. So a word in one area might mean something different than in another area. So as you read, we are going to describe the role of language in perception and communication process, the four components of language when we study it. We're going to understand the different functions, because sometimes we follow directions and things of that nature. And there are 5 key principles of verbal language. You do need to understand the difference between syntax, semantics, context that govern our language and other languages, and describe how language serves a purpose in reality. Okay, and we're going to demonstrate 6 ways in which language can be an obstacle. Okay, so there are barriers in communication, even if we do speak the same language. What are cliches, jargon, and slang that might not always be the best way to communicate? And we may not even know what our cliches are, and they're not formal, and especially if we are going to do something in a formal presentation. So we do have sexist language, we have racist language, we're going to uncover gender in language, and we're going to understand the 6 strategies for improving, because that's why you're taking the class, to realize. And then, so now what? Now I have to incorporate this, and then demonstrate the appropriate use of definitions across and diverse cultures. Okay, so we're just going to give you a nice definition of language, which is a system of symbols, words, and or gestures used to communicate meaning. So the word is a symbol for what it actually is. So if I hold up a pen, you may say pen, somebody may say ballpoint, somebody may say Bic. So it's a symbol for pilot is the name of this one. Or if I put up a tissue box, you may say tissue, you may say Kleenex, because Kleenex is a brand, but we still speak the same language, but we may be using different symbols to talk about the same item. So variation in our use of language helps to form relationships and communities, and that's what brings you closer together. Because when I say the green in a small town, you'll know that's the center of town. For others that are in the city, Central Park. So words themselves hold no meaning, but people give them life and purpose as you use it. So here's your semantic triangle. So the semantic triangle is a 3-part model in which a symbol refers to a thought, which in turn refers to the thing it symbolizes. So here is the concreteness. This is the item, and then the word that describes the item, and then what we think about that word that describes the item. So if you take examples of what I have done, so I can say, show you glasses, and you're going to say, well, glasses, the one you drink with. So now you're going to add eyeglasses. And then what do we think about eyeglasses? Okay. So through language, cultures engage in cultural self-reproduction, or how we pass on our culture from generation to generation, storytelling. And it's how you tell the story, and then it gets told again and told again, and that's how we carry it through. So I'm going to skip now down to abstract words, are words that express ideas or concepts without physical references or objects. So an abstract word isn't concrete. It's vague. So even a color, you may think I say blue, maybe someone is thinking light blue. I have to go through all my blues at the table here. I don't have very many blues, but we have a navy blue, a royal blue. So the more specific you get, the more somebody else is going to be able to understand. So we're going to go over these words. Linguists normally focus on 4 aspects of language. So this is the bottom line for all languages: the phonology, the semantics, the pragmatics, and the syntax. So phonology is the study of the sound of the system. So phonemes, phonetics, if you take a voice and diction class, you study the 43 to 44 sounds we make in standard American English. Semantics, the study of meaning. So how many different meanings that a particular word has, or what is the meaning that you are thinking of pertaining to the content of what is being said. So if I say we need to invest in our public school system, the word invest, maybe you'll say, yeah, we need to spend time and bring it up to speed. And really what I meant is money. So there you have 2 different interpretations, and that's semantics. Pragmatics, the study of how language is actually used in specific contexts. So how do we use a particular word in a context of a workplace environment? How do we use that same word at home? How might we use it with friends? How might we use it in a diverse community? And syntax, the study of the structure of language. So our struct grammar, which we tend to not fully understand unless you're preparing a formal piece of writing. So your primary messages, and this is important to understand, obviously, it'll probably be on the test, just checking my time. So primary, secondary, and auxiliary messages. Primary involve the intentional content, both verbal and nonverbal. Primary, what time is it? Secondary messages involve the unintentional content, both verbally and nonverbally. So even with that same sentence, someone may perceive it as being, they're in a rush. They need to know what time it is. Auxiliary messages involve the intentional and unintentional ways of primary language is communicated. This may include vocal inflection. Good morning. Good morning. Gesture. How are you? Okay. Something that is not just the words or the symbols. Semantic rules govern the meaning of words and how to interpret them. And as we said, there may be different meanings. So if you're taking a marketing class, big time. Contextual rule governing the meaning and word choice according to the context and social custom. So in what context are you referring this to? So even when we follow these linguistic rules, miscommunication is possible for our cultural context or community, may hold different meanings for the words used in the source intended. Okay, so the contextual rules are very important. And this is the last slide before we'll go on to part 2. So according to Thomas Kuhn, he makes a point about peridioms. Okay, for some reason I'm stuttering on my words. Or a clear point of view involving theories, laws, and generalizations that provide a framework for understanding, tend to form and become a set around a key validity of claims or statements of the way it works. So these are, your boundaries of when you can say what, where, when. The old saying, don't scream fire in a theater type of things. So this shapes our language, though. It gave so there are ways in which an individual uses these in a negative light, as the second one says. And your book gives quite a few examples of that. So that's important to understand. And what's more important is when you're reading these, use an application that you use so that you can understand what it means. And so that this is something that is going to alter how someone is interpreting what you are saying. Okay, so I'm going to end part 1 here and then continue with part 2.